Welcome to Legacy Therapy, the podcast that will teach you, in bite-sized chunks, how to leave a stress-free legacy so loved ones can focus on people, not paperwork, when you become ill or pass away. Here is your host and financial advocate, Stacey Golden-Lisnock.
Hello, and welcome to the 11th episode of Legacy Therapy, planning techniques for a stress-free legacy. I'm Stacey Golden-Lisnock, your financial advocate, bringing you another episode that's going to be really exciting because I'm very excited to introduce to you our guest today, Ferlie Almonte, and she goes by Ferlie. So Ferlie Almonte's gregarious and contagious positive energy inspires people wherever she goes. Through many life evolutions, she's morphed into a powerhouse motivational speaker, inspirational entertainer, resilience and confidence authority, international best-selling author, TV and podcast host, certified life coach, image consultant, realtor, and life insurance agent who specializes in providing living benefits. Multi-passionate and multi-talented, she helps people live resilient lives through the various services that she offers. And I just want to say before we get started, she's very accomplished, but she's also has an Amazon bestseller called Empowering Transformations for Women. And she's also written a book, Pure Genius, Simple Solutions That Work to Light Up Your World. Is that correct? Do I have that all right? Boy. Okay. Well, I am very...
There's a third one.
There's a very third one I missed here. Okay, go ahead and...
Yeah. Women innovators, leaders, makers, and givers. That made it to international best-selling author in different categories.
Cool. We don't want to miss that one. Sorry about that. So you had so much great stuff to say. I just got too excited. So welcome. I can't wait to talk to you because I know your story is really interesting. And so I wanted to start off by asking you on the personal side, kind of what has happened in your life that's brought you to this point where you're just such a happy person. You're really, and beautiful too, but go ahead.
Oh, thank you so very much. So are you. It takes one to know one. I was just telling them, I love your smile, Stacey. You just, when you smile, your eyes also light up. And I love what you do because this is a way that we can actually take control of our lives and live our loved ones with the peace of mind and also the joy of being able to have shared our lives with them. Well, thank you very much for that lovely introduction. Wow, my goodness, where do I even begin? I would say the pivotal moments of my life came when I was a respiratory therapist about 18 years ago, and I was exposed to an occupational hazard that left me severely disabled. It left me with a 40% permanent lung damage with very, actually hyperreactive airways, to the point that literally I would take 2 steps, my airways would just shut down on me. My head would explode like I'm having a massive migraine. My chest would tighten, and then my GERD would just act up all at the same time. And I had no freaking idea what was going on with me. Wow. None of the doctors here in New Jersey knew exactly how to treat me because it sounded very weird. They probably even thought that I was crazy, right? And so 3 different doctors. One doctor said that, complained that I knew too much. Well, I am a clinician. It is my job to be able to articulate my symptoms so he can help best diagnose me, right? One doctor complained that that I had too many symptoms, that I needed to go to an academic institution so that they can study my very unique case. One doctor just wanted to give me Xanax, thinking that I was a cuckoo, right?
Right.
And until one time, one of the doctors I used to call on when I was a pharmaceutical sales rep, he was in Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in New York, and he was a Harvard grad. And I went there feeling so desperate already because I had no idea what was going on with me. Nobody knew how to treat me. I was getting bigger and bigger from all the massive amounts of steroid I was in. I could not work. And then I remember him saying to me, Ferlie, I don't want to scare you, but this concerns me because, he examined me in a very different way than any other doctor did. He said to me, you have hyperreactive vagus nerve. Unfortunately, that is a nerve that does not respond to any medication once triggered, it acts on its own. So, I mean, all I heard is like, no amount of inhaler or medication can save you once it's triggered. At that moment, I felt like I was just given a death sentence. And I did not know what to do. And I just remember, as talkative as I am, I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. And so the only thing that I remember at that time is that I've learned to live my life as though each day was my last. And then, of course, I prayed like I've never prayed before because I was not ready to check out, you know. And then, of course, I had a very nasty divorce before this all happened. And I wanted to find love in my life again, right? And I prayed for a miracle. And I did get that second chance at life and second chance at life. And so, wow, I got married again. I was so happy.
Mm.
Tragically, I lost my spouse to pancreatic cancer within 8 months of our wedding day.
Wow.
And during the time that she was dying, I was married to a woman.
Uh-huh.
I got laid off from my pharmaceutical sales job. I got flat broke, lost my home, and went into bankruptcy. It was so horrible because, of course, when you don't have income coming, I mean, how else are you going to earn money, right? And through many, and of course, like having to go through that, I remember getting down on my knees and saying to myself, I could whine, I could cry, I could complain, but none of those is going to change my situation. I have the power to change my destiny. I will not let my adversities define me. I will make my mess my message. And that was the time I started to write. And that was the first time I wrote, co-authored this book, Empowering Transformations for Women, that I was able to share my journey through this medical catastrophe and how I have risen above all of it. And then a couple of years later, somebody had asked me to also write a book on pure genius. Basically, I was the featured genius on resilience. And then I continued to write again. That's Women Innovators. How do you actually make your message? And basically, that's how I turned everything around. And I have created this magnificent coaching business. I also began to I became, first of all, a certified life coach, no, certified image consultant first, and then certified life coach, because I realized you can beautify a person outside, but if they're not lighting up inside of them, you can see their eyes are empty. They don't light up. And so I needed to fix what's inside first. And I also realized that through all of these tragedies, there is a way that I can empower others, because you know what it's like. I could hide in shame. I could marinate in all of that. Because people are afraid to be judged, because like, oh, she's a loser. She went bankrupt. She lost her home, everything that she ever had, and her marriage did not work out. And then here she is now a widow. But, I wanted to dismantle all that and bring a message of hope and resilience to others. I am happily married now, for over 9 years, almost 9 years actually, to an incredibly wonderful woman who I call my healing angel. And also through all of this life evolutions, I have found that in many different businesses, I was able to help people transition through life, because we either get divorced, somebody dies in our family, we get disabled, whatever the case may be. I realized through the different services, however diverse it may be, you would see they all come together in a beautiful umbrella. The realty helping them find a new home. The life insurance with living benefits, I help them become financially resilient. With life coaching, I help them find a new beginning, a new career, ignite their light. Actually, my signature coaching program is called Unleash Your Bling. Bling stands for boldly living in natural greatness. So I help people find what really they're great at, find their inner genius, and basically either help them create a business out of that, or create a magnificent message or legacy, so that they can begin to impart that part of that side of them that helps people find a new slate in life, a clean slate in life. And that, their lives could be inspiring in so many different ways. And I continue to do that through my podcast, through my TV show. I speak all over the world. I host fundraising events to be able to help people build funds, to help people who may need that money. I love what I do because in many different forms, I facilitate change. I ignite lights. I create legacies. And when I have heard of what you do, I said like how beautiful it is, because I remember during the time my spouse was in the hospital,
Yeah.
she did not want to sign the how do you call that, the
The health.
advance directive,
Mhm.
and the advance directive, and what's the other one?
The advance directive. So that's the living will and the healthcare directive.
Yes,
So, mhm.
she didn't want to sign it. The living will.
Mhm.
Um, maybe because she didn't think that she was going to die,
Mhm.
and the hard part of that is that you leave your loved ones with the burden of having to make tough decisions about
Right.
having to let you go, or put you through another like a massive amount of modalities that your body has to endure. it's
Right.
it's very, very hard, and that's why I love what you do, because it alleviates the burden of the loved ones from having to make decisions, from finding where everything is, because otherwise it adds more stress and grief to what they are already experiencing.
Yeah.
So my gosh, like it's like that is my life, a little bit of my life story. And I even say like, oh my God, my story does not just require a book, it needs a trilogy.
I would say you're a firecracker. This is amazing. You have so much energy. So to come from somebody with like what you said, you had 40% of your uh, breathing abilities were
Yeah,
destroyed.
actually, right now I only function on 50%. But
Uh-huh.
actually, believe it or not, through this COVID, I've been the healthiest I've ever been, because obviously I stay inside, and so I'm not exposed to any environmental triggers, and
Right.
so I avoid triggers. Whether it be environment, and by the way, I choose to be happy all the time. I manage my stress, and because of that, I notice when I'm not stressed, when I'm happy, I'm actually very healthy. And so, there are choices that we have to make in life to just be able to maintain overall holistic wellness in our life.
Absolutely. Well, you seems like you've got it all dialed in. Like you had such massive tragedy and now you have such massive happiness. Like you've come from one end to the other. Great. I mean, you've been a great success. So that's really wonderful. And then being willing to help other people to do that same thing. Because it is something that is duplicatable, right? It is teachable. And everyone needs to know that they do have the opportunity to change their life, right? And a lot of it has to do with the mindset. And
Exactly.
yeah.
One of my favorite quotes is by Carl Jung. He
Mhm.
said, "You are not what happened to you, you are what you choose to become." And when you said mindset, I completely agree with you, Stacey, because Maya Angelou has a great quote that I have been using all my life. She said, "If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude." And I've been doing a lot of attitude adjustments in my life, because there's only so many things that we can control in life. The
Right.
rest is mindset, just like what you said.
Right. Yeah, I love that. So, and most people, that have never been subjected to some positive input, don't even know that exists. It's just such a foreign concept for many families because they weren't raised that way. Nobody ever put that into their consciousness at all. So it is a foreign idea because that whole victim mentality is really what I think human beings just automatically go to. Oh, poor me, they did this to me, and how dare they do this to me, and they said this to me, and then they make that becomes their life. But that's not necessary to do if you understand that you have control of your life and what you think of yourself, right? It's really sad what's going on with social media and the bullying and all that kind of stuff, because that's really a travesty, because people they haven't trained their mind to just ignore those things because it's ridiculous, right? it should just roll right off, but it's hard to do if you don't have any training. So you're doing some great work,
Yeah.
and you sure come from, wow, that's an amazing story. Just crazy amazing story. You've lived
Yeah,
like
I
four
mean,
or five lifetimes.
I did not even get to share with you that, I lost my mother and my father 6 months apart when they were only 58 years old. My mother passed on from ovarian cancer.
Uh-huh.
So she was actually my age now when she passed. And then 6 months after, I lost my father to lung cancer. So, that has been like, both my parents were cancer. And then I lost a spouse to pancreatic cancer. And my dearest cousin, she was an RN in Rhode Island. At 49 years old, she also lost her battle to breast cancer. So I so I guess that's one of the reasons why I decided to create all of this. As a matter of fact, because of their heart-wrenching stories, I wrote the lyrics to a song called Unbreakable Soul. That was actually made for cancer, and I actually sang that song in a big concert in San Francisco, when a legendary artist actually came for a concert, and he gave me the platform on World Cancer Day to perform that song. So I actually have a one-woman show that I'm ready to launch, except COVID happened. And so I wasn't able to do the one-woman show, but I would have had a tour. It's a 6-act one-woman show. I talk about the different adversities I've been through in life. I teach people how to overcome their own, and I sing all original songs I wrote lyrics to. And so I love that. So, in a way, it's entertaining, it's empowering, it's inspiring, it's heart-wrenching.
Yeah, all of those.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah, you're amazing. You're just amazing. You bottle you up and sell you.
I wish, right? And I would call it Ferlilicious. But by the way, what Ferlilicious stands for? It means heart-centered, soul-inspired, purpose-driven. I coined that. I have
Okay.
to add that to Wikipedia.
Yeah. Nice, nice. Well, you mentioned so many different things that were cancer related that you've kind of come through, and then you had your own disability, and now you're really passionate about, I know, the living benefits on life insurance, which most people who have life insurance don't have this feature because it's a fairly new feature. And so I know, being in the insurance industry myself, when it came out, we would talk to people and say, well, do you have the new kind of insurance or the old kind of insurance? And they're like, huh? I have insurance. Like, what are you even talking about? But it was a door opener to kind of explain that there's this new feature that makes insurance something that is not just for when you die, but it's also got some living benefits. So can you explain that? Because you do such a great job explaining it. Just
Yeah,
tell.
thank you very much for that opportunity. Yes, it's the kind of insurance you don't have to die to use. Well, the passion of that came from my own story, because when I was disabled, obviously, how are you going to make money? Like, there's no income replacement. And during that time, I only had a term policy. So that it does not have any cash accumulation. It also does not have living benefits. So literally, I had to wait to die to be able. Actually, I won't be there to enjoy it. My beneficiary will be able to collect from it. But that actually matured already last July. Now here comes living benefits. That's why I said I wish it was available then, but it wasn't. And I wish also that anyone it will. I don't want it to be the best kept secret, because 7 out of 10 people in America have life insurance, but 98% of them do not know that there is such a thing as living benefits. So basically, with living benefits, while you are still alive, whether it be term or index universal life, you are able to access money on a terminal illness up to 100% while you're still alive, if you're expected to die within 24 months. And if you have a chronic illness and you cannot perform 2 activities of daily living, you can actually collect up to 2% of your face amount every month for 50 months tax free. And then if you also have cancer, stroke, heart attack, a critical illness, or critical injury, you can collect up to 80% of your face amount right here, right now, when you're alive and when you need it most. That is the best part about this. So if you are a new homeowner, for instance, you don't want to, because you don't want to leave your family with the burden of, oh, what's going to happen if I get sick. if you die, at least they have money. But what if you don't die? At least you know that you will have income replacement and life solutions. And that's the whole beauty of the living benefits. And of course, you know that with Index Universal Life, you also could invest money, so you can put there on a risk-free, tax-free vehicle. So in case you need money just to enjoy, and you want to go on a dream vacation, you want to pay for a wedding, or invest on a new Ferrari, whatever it may be, you know, you can basically pull your money tax-free, no penalty. So it allows people to be able to put together in one policy things that they would need for death, for when they get ill, or when they want to retire young and retire rich. So that's what's beautiful about what I do now, is that I help people become financially resilient. It's easier to become resilient when you have money. when,
And it's easier to stay healthy when you have money. The stress of like money, right? Money problems,
Exactly.
it is
Actually,
very, very hard
that
on
is a
your health.
great point, Stacey, because my spouse is a nurse. And so often she says that a lot of people end up being ill because they're so stressed. And quite frankly, the stress that they're going through is about money. And so,
And divorce is about money, and foreclosure and bankruptcy. It's so much about money, right? So money is a vehicle that if we don't put any kind of effort into managing money, then it comes back to bite you inevitably, because it needs to be managed, right? It needs to have some sort of planning.
no, Stacey, why do you think people avoid having to plan? Because like I keep wishing that, like, why is it that when I was younger and healthier, why is it that nobody talked to me about it? You know, I'm saying, why is it that people shy away from it?
I think people, it just from my own, could be wrong, but people don't want to be sold something, and they always look at like, you're selling me something. No, I'm not available. No, I don't. And we got so inundated with all these phone calls and people trying to get in that you don't even let the good ones in. So it's kind of like good bacteria, bad bacteria. The good stuff got to come in to be able to help fight off the bad stuff. And if you don't let anything in, then you're going to go down a bad road, because you have nothing in place when life happens. And life does happen, no matter, you don't plan for that. You don't plan on when life's going to happen to you, but it does happen for
Yeah,
sure.
financial literacy. Oh my goodness. It's
Oh,
almost like, financial literacy became just like a buzzword more
that's right.
recently, right?
Mhm.
But in reality, or maybe it was called financial education before, not literacy. But
Right.
the whole point is that it's life changing. Like I
Right.
always feel like, please talk to a financial planner, talk to a life insurance agent, talk to somebody like you who's an, how do you call yourself? Like, I know you're an advocate for, tell me exactly, because you have a beautiful title.
Well, I made up my own title. So I was a financial advisor for 30 years, 33 years. But now I want to be, and I am, a financial advocate. So I am advocating for people to get what you're talking about, to get this information in their brain, in their life, be able to operate on another level of consciousness towards things that are going to make their life and the lives of their families more pleasurable. Because being broke and being financially strapped and stressed and going through probate and doing all of these things that people are drugged through when they don't have the plans in place are not a life that you would offer up as something that's pleasurable, right? They're the things that are not pleasurable, dealing with courts and lawyers and fees, and taking time off work because you have to go handle somebody else's affairs because they didn't take the time to gather up what needed to be gathered up. They don't even know where their stuff is. So how are you, as somebody that doesn't even live with them, going to know where anything is? So that's why
And
I did the
also
court.
conflict, family conflict,
Yeah,
because oh
absolutely.
my goodness, like there's a lot of family conflict that happens when not
Mhm.
everything is in order, right? Like, and so
That's right. And what you were talking about too, when like signing the healthcare directive, that causes a lot of conflicts between families. So that whole Terry Schiavo case from the 1990s, it didn't even get resolved until 2005. 15 years those families fought. So her husband, Terry Schiavo's husband, and then Terry Schiavo's parents were at odds for 15 years. It went to Superior Court. But
Wow.
the thing was, so the husband, after several years of her being on life support, said she would not want this. We've talked about it. She wouldn't want this. This is not a life. Like, we need to unplug this. The family's like, no, we're not going to let her go. We're not going to let her go. For 15 years, they're not going to let her go. And then when they
I
did,
just imagine how financially draining that could be
oh,
also, you know?
but it just took their lives away. That became their
Yeah.
lives, and there was no need for it. If she had had a healthcare directive in place, it would have been, no. If I'm not going to have any kind of life, I don't want to be kept alive on a machine. Most reasonable people would say that. I haven't never ran into somebody that said, "Keep me alive as a vegetable," or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm not going to be able to function, usually people say,
Let me
no,
go.
let me go. I mean, I can't be here forever. And so it's important that people realize that they're potentially pitting their children against each other, because one would have one opinion, oh, you're killing mom, or you're killing dad, or you just want to pull the plug because you just want the inheritance. People get real nasty and start throwing daggers at each other. So I just want to make sure that people understand kind of what they're setting their families up for, and that they have the power. And you are the epitome of taking the power back. I mean, you haven't given anybody your power, which is amazing, right? And if you can teach people that that is your power to have, then they can actually make a better life for themselves and everybody else around them. So, gosh, the time has gone by so quickly. We could talk forever.
I know, right?
You are so inspirational, actually. So, but we do need to wrap it up. So I wanted to see, you did have an offer for our audience. So go ahead and let them know what you had to offer.
Well, I realize that, nowadays people are out of jobs, or people are actually not sure of what the future lies. And so I would like to make two different offers. And then you just give me a call and we'll decide which way you want to go. The first one is I could actually offer your viewers 30 minutes life coaching. So we can do, well, I could help you find a sense of direction and clarity of what your future could be. And then also another one, if you are also interested to know how much money is available to you and your family in case you get sick of cancer, stroke, or heart attack, I'd like to be able to show an illustration to you. And there is no obligation at all to buy. This is my gift of education and empowerment to you. My telephone number is 201-994-5617, and just mention Stacey, and I would know that you are a viewer.
Great. Well, that's a very generous offer. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And I hope that the audience takes her up on that, because that's something great. I mean, you can never get too much information, right? And sometimes one little thing that somebody says to you changes your whole life.
Yeah, because more often than not, they always say like, "Oh, I never thought of it that way. Oh, I never saw myself that way."
Mhm.
I'm hoping that your little coaching session with me would basically ignite something in you. Say like, "Oh, I would never have considered that." But then again, your new possibilities are wide open for you.
That's right. Yeah, that's excellent. All right. Well, we will wrap it up now, and appreciate everybody listening again. Until next time, I always encourage you to take a look at the website, gotittogethernow.com, and take a look at the course, the emergency info file, which is really every single person listening to this should do it. What it is should you become ill, should you have an accident, should you pass away, should somebody need to come in and take care of your business, that they would not be in a frenzy. They would not be all stressed out. They would actually know exactly what you have, because you've had the conversation with them ahead of time. You've gone through and made sure everything's accurate ahead of time, and it's all in one place. And so it's easily accessible to that person that you've trusted. So the emergency info file is absolutely a must. And we're on a real, we're on this mission to have people understand, if you choose to ignore this and you don't do it, what you're doing is you are choosing to put your family and the people that you love in a very bad situation. We don't want to have families fighting again with each other. We don't want to have families suing each other. And we definitely don't want to have the heartache that goes with losing a loved one and then not being able to mourn that loss because you're so consumed with having to deal with lawyers and court dates and the cost and the travel that's involved when you have something that's a mess. So
Oh,
please
I
take a
love
look.
that. Like I would love to actually, I would like to ask our TV station here if we could share this broadcast. And because I live in an active adult community, and most of us are in our 50s, 60s and 70s, and this is something that we really would be very valuable. I'd love for this to be able to be aired on our TV station because a lot of people can definitely use your services and be able to save a lot of people from heartaches, conflicts, and stress.
Absolutely. And we know stress kills. We know. I had my own health issue in 2018 and it was all stress related. So, and we've all have stories. So, but I want to wrap up for today.
Thank you so very much for having me. What a beautiful soul you are, and thank you for what you do to help being a financial advocate to all of us. Because definitely your service is something that everybody really needs to consider going forward.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you, Ferlie. I really appreciate you coming on. So until next time, signing off. This is Stacey Golden-Lisnock, your financial advocate. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you for listening to the Legacy Therapy Podcast. If we hit it out of the park today and you learned at least one new thing to take action on in your own quest to planning the best legacy possible, then be sure to tell your friends, subscribe, and rate and review wherever you get your podcast. The show notes will provide the sites and information that were discussed today. You can get more great tips, resources, and inspiration by visiting our website, legacytherapypodcast.com.